Alright, welcome to part 2 of this double Amiga 2000 restoration series. I am still waiting for some more parts that I have ordered, but I thought I'll start and assemble the machines, and before I do that I want to test the floppy drives if they work or not, and the easiest way to do that I thought was just to test them in this Amiga 500 computer. So I'm just gonna connect it up with the same ribbon cable that actually came with the machine, and I have a very short power cable here. Too short actually, it's for an internal floppy. So maybe this will work. So let's test number 1. I have this north and south game that usually works on every floppy drive that I'm testing with, that is actually working, and yeah, turning on. Yeah, it starts loading. Alright, so that's a good one. Testing the second one. Pin 1 is there. So what we got on this one? Powering up. Yeah, seems to be reading fine. A little bit more noisy perhaps. And there it is, it actually loaded the game. Well, almost. Let's give it another try. Alright, the second time it actually loaded to the menu, so yeah. That one is kind of working, but maybe it's a little bit slow on turning the disk. It took a while longer. Alright, so that was the status of the floppy drives. They are both working, and yeah, they won't be used much actually, because part of this project is to actually install some more modern media. Alrighty, the package from DigiKey just arrived, delivered right to my door, and that was incredibly fast. It took only 6 days from the United States, and free shipping. That's amazing, and very good service. So let's see what we got. Ooh, full of large caps for the Amiga 2000 power supplies. Alright, so now it's just to get started and do the recapping, and I think they are maybe a little bit difficult because they are all glued to the board. Anyway, I made a note of every capacitor and their position and the value and the polarity, so I'm not gonna make a mess out of this. I'm gonna start with the big ones, and they have a large solder points. So this needs a lot of heat to melt the solder. So these large pads and holes are not easy to get loose the pin from, and I'm trying to use pliers just to see if I can get them loose from the hole. Okay, I think that is loose. Alright, there it got loose. Alright, the large ones are out, and now I'm gonna clean up the solder points. First I add a little bit of flux. Then I just clean with a little solder wick. Probably not necessary, but I like to do it anyway, just to make sure I get good solder afterwards. This is just a single-sided board, so there's nothing on the upper side, but I just clean a little bit and try to remove the leftover glue. In with the new caps. These are a little smaller than the ones. Yeah, you can see the difference, and it's the same value, 680 microfarad, 200 volts. But connection, so pin size is the same. And that's important to check when you purchase new capacitors, that you get the same physical size for the pins. Soldering in the new caps, I just add a little flux first. Always a good idea. So let's see if I can solder this. Takes a lot of heat, so no, I'm not happy with that, not at all. It just became a big blob. So I'm just gonna remove that and start over again. Just add a little more heat on the soldering iron and try again. And now I'm using the other solder tin, which is the leaded type. I'm not used to soldering these large pads. Requires a lot of heat. Maybe I should have changed the tip. Okay, seems to be taking now. Alright, that looks good. And for that I use nearly 450 degrees Celsius. Then some cleaning. All right, I think those are looking pretty good. And now I'm just gonna recap the rest off cam because there's not much to show. If anything special occurs, I'll report back. So see you in a minute. Alright, this is the last capacitor and everything went really smooth. Except for one little accident. I'll show you in a minute. Alright, that's it. All new electrolyte caps on this one and one more to go. And about the accident, well, see my thumb? I actually managed to cut myself while I was using the knife to remove some glue from the PCB, and I cut right into the nail and it bleeded a little bit, but I think this is okay, no problem. Alright, that was in fact the last capacitor on the other power supply, so good to be done with those. And now I actually want to test if this work and if the motherboards still work as before. No point in continuing if I did something wrong now. Oh, I almost forgot the keyboards. I want to clean them and do some retrobrighting, perhaps on this one at least. The other one seems to be more dirty, but not that yellowed. So yeah, I'm gonna do this before I start assembling the machines. The two different keyboards is a little bit different, as I mentioned in part 1, and this one, the oldest one, is a little bit simpler. You just open it with lifting these brackets, if I can find something. Try not to break anything. And the other keyboard is secured by screws. There. It was really hard. Ooh. There's a wire going to this shield, I guess. Grounded. So now I'm able to clean the plastic part for this one. This is a very thin PCB for the keyboard, very easy to bend. Try not to bend it. So then I'm gonna remove all the keycaps. And these are quite easy to remove, you just lift them straight up. No need to use my keyboard puller. So this was a little bit strange keyboard. I have never seen this before, and these 3-part keys that actually bend to the sides. So I'm going to blow this free of dust and try and clean everything with IPA and do the rest of the cleaning of the keycaps. The second keyboard is a little bit more modern and it actually has a Commodore Amiga 2000 logo. And this one actually has 6 screws you need to remove. Ooh, this actually looks more like an Amiga 500 keyboard, and that's a good thing because I have a spare, so I can find replacements for the missing keycaps. So now this is gonna go for a little bath and some dust blowing. Taking a look at the keyboards inside after cleaning away all the dust, you can see that the oldest one has none issues. But see, it's just a PCB, and this one, the newest, actually has a lot of rust stains. And that is actually common for these types of keyboards. It has a metal plate which is painted, and yeah, rust. So this needs to go, so I'm gonna use a little bit vinegar just initially on each of the spots. And then I'm just gonna scrape them off with something and paint over it. And as you can see now, after just a few minutes with the vinegar, the rust comes off quite easily. Just a little bit of vinegar. So I'm just gonna wipe it clean, and it's important to remove the actual vinegar after you're done. So use some alcohol to spray it off afterwards. Then I am scraping off a little bit around the stains because there might be leftover rust under the paint. So I think that's enough with scraping and cleaning. There's always a limit on how much work I'm gonna do with these old things. It's not gonna be perfect, but it's definitely gonna be much better. So now I'm gonna spray with isopropanol alcohol and try to clean as much as possible, using a brush first and then some cotton swabs, and yeah, you know the drill perhaps. Thing is to get away all the dirt remaining and also all the dried in vinegar. Now I'm gonna find some black spray paint. I think I have some, if not I'll have to wait, but before that I'm gonna take a look at these keyboard contacts, and they are a little bit special. You can actually pull them out gently, and then there's a spring and a little metal contact. Let me zoom into that. It's a good idea to not remove all these plastic tops, because it's very easy to damage this metal contact if you place them wrongly back into the key. But just make sure to get the little contacts right between the plastic, like that, and then it should come up here in this hole. So now I'm gonna spray all the contacts with a little electronic cleaner. The other keyboard as well, I'm sure there's a way to take apart these keys, but I'm not gonna risk that. I just push them a little bit down and fill a little bit of electronic cleaner, or it's same as deoxidizer. It's time to do a little retrobrighting, and I'm not gonna do it on both keyboards, just this one, the oldest one that was most yellowed. I don't know how good it shows on the video, but You can see here there was a label and it's clearly a lighter color, so yeah. And as usual, I'm gonna use this saloon cream, which is 12% hydrogen peroxide. I just add a little amount and use a brush. Try to distribute an even layer all over. So I think that's good. And then I just wrap it in plastic film. Make sure to get a good seal so that the gas don't escape. And then I do the same with the bottom case. So there you go, ready for some sunshine. Well, not exactly a lot of sun today, but it's very bright, so I'm gonna put them outside anyway. There's a lot of debate whether you need heat or not, or sunshine or not. My experience is that well, you don't need anything and cold weather is just as good as hot. The keycaps have been cleaned and dried, and as you can see, they actually need a little retrobright them too on the oldest keyboard. You can clearly see it on yeah, the lower part of the keys are white and the top is a little more greenish or yellowish. For the keys I just use 2 bags with half the keys in each, and then the same hydrogen peroxide cream. Just fill a good amount into the bag and yeah, massage it around. Try to not get the cream onto your fingers. I've done it several times. It's not a big deal, but it makes some stains, and on your clothes as well. Remove as much air as possible, then tie a knot on the plastic bag. And then distribute it a little bit so they're not sitting on top of each other all the time. And this I do several times during the retrobrighting, just switching them a little bit around. Then I use my oven on 50 degrees Celsius. I have found that this speeds it up a little bit, but I'm not really sure how much. So I leave it there for at least 3 or 4 hours. And then I come back at the regular interval to turn them around and to massage a little bit. Unfortunately, I didn't have any black spray paint as I thought, but I have this metal gray, and yeah, I'll use that. It's not for beauty, it's for protection. So I'm just gonna spray a little bit into this jar, and then we'll see. Oops, I can't do that because now it spreads all around the room. So I just went outside and sprayed a little amount into this jar and use a little cotton swab. Then I just cover the stains. So it's not pretty, but it's effective, hopefully. That's it. I think I have done a lot of work on this keyboard now, and I'm not gonna do anything else. Not pretty, but hopefully this will prevent rust from coming back in at least some years. Alrighty, I have recapped one of the motherboards and both the power supplies. However, I did not test those, so that's what I'm gonna do now. I'm gonna test the board I have recapped and both of the power supply and see if they run stable. So let's see if anything goes bang now. Oops, it's a green screen. That is not good. Blinking green screen. I have to look it up. But the power supply seems to be yeah, working. So I'm gonna test the other motherboard that has not been recapped with the same power supply. Alright, so this still works. That's at least something. Then I'm gonna test the other power supply. Let's see. Second power supply. Yep, still works. So that's good. I know it actually blinks yellow and sometimes green, but for the most part it's a yellow. And when I check the error codes, I actually see that it can indicate some bad capacitors, which is maybe a probable cause because I have replaced all the electrolytes. And actually I have did a mistake. This one here is the wrong value. It should be at 220 microfarad and I have put in a smaller value. And the value of this is 47 microfarad, and the reason for I have mistaken that is probably because the other board has 47. It might be a long shot, might be something else, but anyway I'm gonna desolder this cap and put in at 220 microfarad. I replaced the cap and let's see. Did that help? Nope, still yellow. So maybe I did something else wrong, so I just need to continue the hunt. So now I actually tried a little this and that and swapping the chips a little bit more around, and while the screen was showing yellow, actually the power LED was blinking 1 long plus 10 shorts. So that means that there was something wrong with the Agnus chip. However, this chip is good and the CPU is good, so nothing there. And now it shows all black screen all the time, and black screen is an indication of a bad CPU, which is not the case. So I actually now believe that the problem lies within the CPU socket, and after studying it closely, I actually noticed that this pin here is actually corroded right off in the top. So there is bad or no contact between this pin on the socket and the CPU. So I'm gonna zoom in now, and here you can clearly see it's a little bit out of focus maybe. So now it's really visible. See the pin here, it's completely it's completely corroded away, and there's probably other issues with this socket. So this socket needs to go. However, I don't have a socket for 64 pins like this, and because the DIP 64s are quite hard to get, and I have really never seen them used for other purposes than the Motorola 68000 CPU. However, I am waiting now for a socket. But in the meantime, I am gonna use a smaller socket and just cut out this part here from here and down there and remove that first. So hopefully this will work, and hopefully it won't do any damage. So I'm just cutting here now. So now it is loose, and I'm gonna try and desolder that part. So now I'm gonna desolder the 10 solder points down here. So now I think it is loose. It was a bit of a hassle, but yeah. Alright, so now I can see. So it is quite dirty, quite a mess under here, and here you can see the broken pin. And there is the part from it. So I'm gonna clean this up and then try and solder in this part from the other socket. Look how dirty it was. So I think the socket repair or replacement is perfect now. Yeah, looks good. So I have never transplanted parts of IC sockets before, but this is a temporary solution, so I'll try it out. Let's see if this CPU now fits. Okay, let's see if this fixed the problem or not. Nope, seems to be still a black screen, so there's something wrong still. Now I try with the other CPU, see if there's anything changed. Well, at least now we're back to a green screen. Alright, so this board obviously needs a little bit more work, and one thing I did try was to swap out the ROM chip, and actually then it went over to black screen, and then I cleaned a little bit more on this socket, and then it came back to green. So yeah, there's obviously something not right in this area, so I'm not gonna do anything more with this now because I'm waiting for the socket and yeah, some other things for these machines. So I'm gonna continue and concentrate on the other machine. This is the keyboards, and they are now finished with the restoration and cleaning. So yeah, they are looking very nice. I think the yellowing is gone, and yeah, shiny and as good as new. No, just the last step here in this keyboard here is the missing keycaps, which I took from a donor machine or a spares machine, an Amiga 500. Nice.